think we are live. This Hangout on Air is live and happening. Welcome, welcome, everyone. I'm Dana Balicki. I'm an engagement strategist, and this is our December webcast on Taking Stock with the wonderful coach, Josh Van Vliet, to usher us through closing out 2015, right? Powerfully, authentically, and all of that in service of preparing ourselves for what's next, right? In 2016, whatever you've got, big moves, small moves, all the moves. So we're here, and we are part of, if you're brand new to Move the Crowd, or you are here for the very, you're here for the 10th time, right, on one of our monthly webinars. I just want to tell you a little bit about Move the Crowd before we jump into the work tonight. So welcome, welcome. I see more of you tuning in here. I'm way out in Joshua Tree, California, so you're sort of going to catch the total like sunset light change here in my house. And even though I'm out here in the desert, right, I have the honor of working with Move the Crowd remotely as an engagement strategist. And I've been working with this amazing crew of folks, and I'm talking the crew behind the scenes, right? The crew out in front, Josh, the coaches, Rha Goddess, Jay Love, Monica, our other amazing coaches, and then the crew as in like the fantastic community of entrepreneurs. So Move the Crowd is the nation's first entrepreneurial training company dedicated to serving and helping the next generation stay true, get paid, and do good. And so our guide tonight is Josh Van Vliet, and without me getting like too, gooey, and I'm so excited. I guess I'll just say that I'm so excited to be doing this webinar with Josh, and I know that he was waiting all year to do a hangout, right? A live hangout with y'all. So this is like dream come true for all of us. And Josh is a coach and trainer from Move the Crowd. He's also co-founder and director of programs for coaching for social change. And he's a licensed trainer for the Academy for Coaching Excellence. So with Move the Crowd, he helps emerging coaches, right? Artists, healers, and really helps them stuff in their business, right? So Josh's perspective is informed by his belief that personal transformation is critical to creating long-lasting social change in a world that works for all. His background includes experience in mental health, dance teaching, he can cut a rug like no other, music, gender equity activism, and numerous coaching training programs. When he's not coaching, teaching, and dancing, he's oftentimes playing bass and guitar and singing enthusiastically. So y'all are in for a treat. And so before I hand it over to Josh, I'm just going to give you a quick hit on Move the Crowd. So as I mentioned, we're an entrepreneurial training company. We focus on conscious entrepreneurs and cultural creatives. And we work with our clients to really let unique creativity, their strengths, and their passion into tangible and profitable results, right? Tangible and profitable. So through our True Paid Good Academy, right, which is our 9-month-long intensive where you're paired with your own coach, right? Through this work, the entrepreneurs emerge with a vision to move forward, the knowledge to up their game, and the power to achieve their own flavor of success. So you can join us. We do we've been doing monthly live webcasts. We're spacing it out a little more now, a little bit more special occasion to really like get you through these like key times of year. Of course, always on our blog and then through social media. And then once a year in the fall, we do a live mastermind. So you can always go to our, you're signed up right now, you're in the system, so you will, you can receive information about our upcoming events and just really stay in the loop. Okay. Last thing I'll say is that, if you are new to us, there's also the opportunity at the end of this webcast or at any time to go to our site and decide for a free strategic consult with one of our coaches, Josh, absolutely one of them. And we also have wonderful Monica Moss-Fransberry and J. Love Calderon. And so, you know, this is an incredible cadre of coaches that will sit with you and really dig in for 30 minutes or more and really sit with you in your business and help you really think it through. Okay. So now I'm going to hand it over to Josh to take us through the taking stock process.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am so thrilled and honored to be here and get to support you all in what you're up to tonight as you take stock of the year. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. But first, just happy December. You know, here we are again. Another year, another opportunity to take stock. And this is a classic Move the Crowd tradition. As a community of practice, we begin our year very intentionally, and we close our year with the same level of intention. You know, and what a year this has been for all of us. 2015 was the year of courage and currency. Bold action in honor of what you value. This is a theme that we've been working with all year. And we began this year asking ourselves, where are you being called to greater courage in your work this year? That is, where are we being called to stand in our vision instead of our drama, to take action that's consistent with our commitments? You know, courage is all about our capacity to choose what we want to experience. And we also began the year asking ourselves, where are you being called to greater currency in your work this year? In all the different forms that currency takes, right? Money, yes, absolutely, but also freedom, health, love, authentic relationship, respect. Currency is all about connection. So this is the year where we were called to really know where we stand and stand for what we know. The charge this year was to boldly and unapologetically move in alignment with our purpose. So this is the gateway, courage and currency, you know, with the gateway for us to act in greater alignment with who we are and what we're here to contribute. And so every month this year, as Dana was mentioning, right, we came into this context to set up our month through these monthly hangouts, through these tips of the month, to work in the theme around building and strengthening our businesses. Last month, for example, was all about dotting your I's. And now we've reached the time when every year we come together to take stock. It's time to reflect and look at, how did we do this year? You know, so much happens in a year. And when it finally quiets down for the majority of us, you know, this time, December, late December into early January, there's a way that we relive the year because now we have time, we have the space to relive the year. And if it's been amazing, there's a lot of celebratory energy, right? But if we've had a tough year, there's also the energy of disappointment or sadness, frustration. And for those of us who've had a mixed year, there's both and. So why do we take stock right now? Well, whatever your year has been, the opportunity for each of us is to look toward, how do we want to honor the year? And how do we complete the year so that we start 2016 fresh? And we don't bring in any incomplete residue, any incomplete energy from 2015 into the next year. Now, for some of us, we have rituals and practices for the end of the year that we love. For others of us, this is a totally new idea. For me, before I joined Move the Crowd, I didn't have any kind of ritual for taking stock. I didn't have a process for reflecting on and completing my year. And I have to say, this practice, this has been incredibly powerful for me. It's really helped me to see the richness of the path that I've traveled, to step back and view it from a higher vantage point so I can really appreciate the road, the whole distance that I've traveled. And out of doing that, bring this different quality of energy and a greater clarity and focus about what's important into the new year, into what's next. It's like moving. You know, you get when you move, you get to purge your house of old items, old energy, and consciously choose, what's the energy that I want to carry forward with me? And that's our same opportunity here. We get to look, what's the energy that I want to carry forward with me into the next year? And to do that, we have to consciously examine our year. So this is our moment to pause, to reflect, and to choose. What are the things that you want to carry? What do you want to build on, grow on, and continue forward? And what are you willing to let go? So that we can see the perfection of the lessons this year. The truth is, if you're in this conversation with us tonight, you ought to be celebrating, because no matter what happened, you made it through. And there are so many who began this year with us who have transcended into other forms. So we just want to take a moment of silence to honor life. Life is precious. And we also want to take a moment of gratitude for those new lives who have joined us this year. We are truly privileged to be alive and awake and aware in these times. So we owe it to ourselves to engage in this sacred ritual of taking stock. So your tip for the month of December is take stock. As you consider your journey over the last 12 months, and as you reflect on all of the things you've done, all of the interactions you've had, you want to complete your year with setting aside some time, some quiet, uninterrupted time to reflect and assess. Within our taking stock process, there are 4 areas that we invite you to explore. Gratitude, acknowledgement, completion, and celebration. So let's get into it. The first is gratitude. As you reflect over the last 12 months, where are you thankful? What were all of the ways you were really blessed this year? What were the gifts and rewards and acknowledgements that came your way? Who were the people who were most instrumental in your blessings? Who are the people that you want to give gratitude for this year? Where did you receive some extra unexpected love this year? And finally, where are all of those places where the universe had your back? You know? Take time to recognize and give thanks. And here's something I want to suggest you try on as you look at what you're grateful for. What would it be like for you to also, as you're looking at all of these different elements, right, where you were blessed, the people you're grateful for, what would it be like to be grateful for the challenges you experienced this year too? Look and see, what can you find to be grateful for in the tough moments from this year? What did they have to offer you? What did they have to teach you? I've been learning the power of this for myself as I practice looking towards what I'm grateful for in each moment, especially when I'm facing a challenge or an obstacle, a person that I'm really frustrated with, a situation that didn't go the way I hoped. When I look for what I'm grateful for, my experience of life changes, and I'm available in a different way to new possibility in that moment. It's profound. So I invite you to try that on as you look at where are you grateful this year. So that's the first aspect of taking stock. The second is acknowledgement. As you think back over the year, where did you really bring it? Where were all of those places where you rose to the occasion and knocked it out of the park? And as you look at that, what did you notice about the circumstances and conditions that supported you to be able to bring your best and really hit the mark? This is about harvesting the lessons, right? What worked this year? And on the other side of acknowledgement, where did you fall short this year? Where did you not quite meet the mark? Where did you not rise to meet the expectation? And What did you notice was missing in where you fell short? I.e., what conditions or circumstances hindered your ability to do an awesome job? And this is important because this information will inform your thinking about where you may want to go to work in 2016, whether it's around your personal growth or around putting in structures or protocols or team, or as you're looking at refining your product, your service, or your ideal client. Mm. Use this as an opportunity to render a full assessment of all of the accomplishments in the lessons, right? And I want to encourage you to not skimp on acknowledging where you knocked it out of the park. Now, for some of you, this may be no problem. You might be very good at acknowledging what's working for you. But if you're anything like me, you may have spent years cataloging the places where you missed the mark, fell short, or didn't score your goals, and maybe gave a little less energy or attention to where you did, right? That's just part of the way our brains are hardwired, something called the negativity bias in psychology. We just look for the places where things didn't go the way we wanted to, or where there's danger, or where there's, all of the negative things. But I want you to imagine for a moment, what if you spent as much time, or maybe even more time and energy recognizing what's working and harvesting the lessons from what's working. So this is the second aspect, that's acknowledgement, taking stock. The third is completion. As you consider your original goals, you want to look towards what is left to be complete at the end of this year. This is all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. This is the first aspect of completion, I should say. Now is the time to attend to all the promises that you made, big and small, this year, and make sure that you're fostering good completion wherever you've given your word, to others and to yourself. What are those left to the last minute, administrative, detail-oriented, maybe even tedious tasks that you've been putting off all year? The charts, the graphs, the protocols, the introductions, the email that you haven't sent yet, the connection, the person you meant to follow up with. Now is the time to ensure that all of the important follow-up and follow-through happens before you close the year. This is all about finishing strong. The second part of completion is in the realm of relationships. We get to look at what are the conversations that still want to be had and with whom. And are there things that you've needed and wanted to express but haven't before now? Is there an opportunity to forgive and or release? So here, be sure to make your list and promise a time when you will have those conversations. So important. And you may also want to ask for some support, right? Some of these conversations may be challenging. Some of it may just be, I want to acknowledge this person for the contribution they've made to my life. It may also be, I need to clean up something that I did, right, from this year. Or maybe it just needs there's an unfinished conversation, right, that you need to complete with someone. So you may want to ask for some support to follow through on your promises or talk through. So get a friend, get a coach, whatever it is for you. And as we're talking about completion, we also want to look towards what are the places where you may need to get complete with yourself, between you and you, right? What might you be holding on to about yourself because of what you have or haven't done this year, right? What ideas, judgments, self-assessments, criticisms, might it be time to set down so you can walk on into 2016 a little bit lighter? This past week, over the Thanksgiving holidays, I took the opportunity to go through and clean out a bunch of stuff that I've been storing for years and years. I had boxes and boxes of old toys from my childhood, clothes I'd put away and never worn, old mementos, photographs, books. And as I went through all of my things, recycling, donating, throwing out a lot of things, I learned something about completion. I'm going to share it with you now in case it's useful for you. I don't know if any of you do this, but in the past, when I was getting rid of old things, I often did it with an energy of, like good riddance. I'm so done with this. I'm just going to like throw this out and just get rid of it. And, it's like kind of a harsh energy to it, and don't get me wrong, that can be satisfying sometimes, for sure. But what I realized as I was going through my mementos and my books and these possessions that I'd once cherished, that was that while owning these things no longer brought me joy, and they don't really represent who I am anymore, it didn't seem right to dismiss them that way. Because they'd served a wonderful purpose in my life. And having fulfilled their purpose, it was simply time for me to set them down and walk on without them. And when I saw this, it was incredibly liberating, because it showed me that I could be grateful for everything that had been a part of my life, from cherished mementos to little bits of junk that I didn't care about, and that when I discarded these things with gratitude, it allowed me to appreciate and acknowledge how each thing had contributed to my life, right? And that I could, release the things that no longer serve me, but do it in such a way that that appreciated what they've contributed to my life, so that I could walk on and live a life of joy and love, and letting go of these things. And much as this applies to the physical things, this also applies to beliefs and ideas, right? Our judgments, our perceptions, our conclusions. And when we go through this process of taking stock, and particularly on completion, when we take this time to look and see where we need to be complete with ourselves and with others, we have an opportunity to set down that which is no longer serving us with gratitude for what it has taught us. Because the truth is, everything in our lives has got us to where we are today. So I invite you to try that on as you are completing with yourself, as you are letting go of the things that no longer serve you. See what it's like to complete with gratitude. To just say, you can even say, whether it's a thing or whether it's an old belief, thank you for what you've contributed to me, and then let it go. So again, this third aspect is completion. The fourth and final aspect of taking stock is celebration. We don't celebrate enough as a culture. Sometimes we think, we often think something needs to be really big to celebrate, right? Like a graduation, a promotion, right? That kind of thing. Or, sometimes we say to ourselves, oh, I don't have time to celebrate. There's always the next deadline. There's always the next thing to do. But when we do life that way, we miss out on a lot of the sweetness that life has to offer us. When we celebrate, we see more and more how sweet life is. And we get to experience a greater sense of satisfaction, and we have more fun. Truly, I've noticed the more that I practice celebration and gratitude, the more fun I'm having in my life. It's incredible. It seems so simple and it seems so obvious, but I know for myself, at least, I need this reminder to practice every day. So celebration. And my invitation to you is, whether you go big or whether you go small, make a conscious plan to celebrate this year in all that you've gained. Be they the big wins or the little wins or the major lessons. Remember, you're still here, so there's so much to be thankful for. So, what do you want to celebrate this year? What were your biggest achievements and your greatest learnings? In your personal growth and in your capacity to lead. In the growth of your venture and in the quality of your relationships. In your health and your well-being and with your family. And the overall quality of your experience. What do you want to celebrate about this year? And how will you celebrate any and all of the above? No matter how you choose to celebrate, see this exploration as an important part of the journey, not just something to be reserved for the final destination. And you might even take this as an invitation to begin practicing celebration on a weekly or even daily basis and see what happens. See what happens for yourself. So these are the 4 aspects of taking stock: gratitude, acknowledgement, completion, and celebration. Taking stock invites us to become even more aware of the gift of life and the blessing of the progress and evolution and joy that it is to be conscious, active shapers of our own lives and contributors to our world and our community and the people around us. If you take the time to engage in this kind of deep reflection, you'll have a greater sense of accomplishment, and you will emerge grounded, present in your newly acquired wisdom, and ready to meet the new year in all its glory. So this month, give yourself the gift of taking stock. And that's your tip of the month for the month of December.
Yes. Thank you, Josh. So, you want to move into some Q&A, or do you have something else for us first?
Let's move into some Q&A.
Okay, so today was a day of technical difficulties. It happens to the best of us, right? I had something going on with my headset that made it so I couldn't hear Josh until a few minutes before our webinar started. Transparency. So I also had a problem with our little Q&A box on our on the page that you're watching the webinar on right now. So I'm about to do some magic, some like web page jujitsu, and I'm gonna need you in. Let's see. I'm gonna have you just refresh, but not yet. Give me 1 second, and then it should all be working. And remember, look up at the URL bar. It's movethecrowd.me. It says, and here's your tip for December, right? So hold on 1 second, and then I'm going to have you count to 5, and then hit refresh, and the Q&A box should be there. And I know that there is a viewer out there who will let me know immediately if it is not. If it's not and it doesn't show up, we're going to do our best to take Q&A. You can always submit it via Twitter. I know that there's a certain viewer who has questions who knows how to chat me directly. That's a little unfair, but that's how things go sometimes. So if you want to, we'll try the Q&A, and if not, we'll take questions via Twitter. So you can use the hashtag taking stock. You can tweet directly at TruePaidGood, right? So we'll take questions that way. So in 1 second, I'm going to have you. I'm sorry for this. I recognize this is ever so slightly awkward. Okay, so I'm going to have you all count to 5 starting now. 5, 4, and count down and refresh. I think it's actually going to take longer than 5 seconds.
I love it when you work your jujitsu magic, Dana.
I'm trying. Okay, let's see if we did it. And it's 5 o'clock. I don't think it actually worked, unfortunately. So I really tried. I really tried to work some magic here, but it didn't work. No. Okay. Well, I was very close. And so we will. Sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all. We really tried to work some magic here for you, but instead. What we will do is we can take questions via Twitter. So if you are on the Twitter machine, you can easily just shoot us a tweet with your question. You can use the hashtag taking stock. I've got my eyes looking at it right now, and I will just continue to refresh the stream. And for anyone else who knows how to get me directly, go ahead and ask your question. And I'm really just talking to one person at this point. So again, we're taking questions. And I do want to apologize to Josh because he was waiting all year for this, and I could not get this bug fixed in time. I really tried.
Well,
So
thanks
you
for
can send
trying,
your,
Dana.
yeah, we try. We really
I,
try. The hashtag taking stock. And then Josh, of course, go ahead if you
Yeah,
want to
well,
dig
first of
in.
all, I just appreciate this is what it is to be a human being working in the world and navigating the unexpected, unpredictable challenges that come with life. And thanks, y'all, for navigating it with us with grace. And I'm excited to hear any questions that you have about taking stock and completing your year. And I was just thinking, as I was getting ready for this, there was a quote that came to mind. So as you all are thinking about your questions or tweeting away at us, I think maybe I'll share this quote. It's actually a Buddhist parable. It's one of my favorites, and it seemed appropriate to me for taking stock and walking on, choosing what we want to walk on with into the new year. So here it is. A man walking along a high road sees a great river. Its near bank dangerous and frightening, its far bank safe. He collects sticks and foliage, makes a raft, paddles across the river, and reaches the other shore. Now, suppose that after he reaches the other shore, he takes that raft, puts it on his head, and walks around with it wherever he goes. Would he be using the raft in an appropriate way? No. A reasonable man will realize that the raft has been very useful to him in crossing the river and arriving safely on the other shore, but that once he has arrived, it is proper to leave the raft behind and walk on without it. This is using the raft appropriately. In the same way, all truths should be used to cross over. They should not be held on to once you have arrived. You should let go of even the most profound insight on the most wholesome teaching, all the more so unwholesome teachings. And I love this quote, this parable so much, because it really, for me, speaks to, again, what I was talking about earlier about gratitude and completion and appreciating there's nothing wrong with the raft, right? The raft was very useful to him to cross the river, to get where he wanted to go. And then there came the moment when it was just no longer useful. And so when we look at old beliefs or old conclusions or physical things that we're holding on to, right, we can see that they've been very useful to get us to where we are now. And that it may be time for us to look and see, is this still useful? Am I still crossing rivers? Or is it time for me to walk on without this one? Yeah. Dana, anything
Yeah.
you want to share about that?
Well, I want to share that we've got some questions coming in. So, huzzah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I'm going to put that once again. Okay, so we've got a couple, and you're hitting your little dings coming through on computers and things whirring, and that's just how we do it. Okay, so we got one question that says, what if you've had a really tough year and it's hard to get to gratitude?
That's a great question. And first, thanks for being here. I want you to take a moment and acknowledge yourself for being on this call tonight. It's huge. It's huge. And so if you've had a tough year, if you had having a hard time getting to gratitude, start where you are. Start with even the smallest thing in this moment. What's one thing that you can be grateful for? Even just right now. And what you're doing is you're just blowing on the spark of gratitude. You're blowing on the possibility. Sometimes it can feel challenging to go to the huge, like when we've had a tough year and things didn't go the way we wanted, it can be tough to get to gratitude. So start with right now. What are you grateful for in this moment? And then you might start to look at and be with that for a moment. Be with that energy, right? You're just nourishing the energy of gratitude. Because in this moment, I know that there is something that you're grateful for. Whatever it may be, big or small. So start there. And then as you're reflecting on your year, you might look towards, what are you taking away from the challenges this year? What has that contributed, there's something, I know because you're here, there's something that you've learned from the path that you've walked this year. So look towards what is it that there is for you to take away from that, so that even from the most difficult or painful or challenging experience, you can see the spark of gratitude. You can say, it doesn't mean you like it, doesn't mean it was good, it doesn't excuse anything that anybody else did or said, right? But this is about being conscious shapers and choosing your own experience. How do you want to be with it? So look towards, what's the spark? What can you take away from that you can be grateful for, even in the midst of the challenge? So I hope that's helpful. Let me know.
And I really loved what you said, Josh, too, about that being grateful for the challenges, right? So there are things that we sort of, I think, write off sometimes as like, well, I couldn't possibly be grateful for that super difficult thing, right? And maybe sometimes we're too close to it to be grateful, and the gratitude come till next year or 5 years from now. Who knows how long? But just thinking about that opportunity to be, grateful for the things that we found, as perhaps part of our biggest challenges, and the gratitude of like what can come from what learnings, being grateful for the learnings, being grateful for the reflection. I know that some of my biggest challenges, I don't know if I'm quite there yet with the biggest challenges for 2015. I think I can start to, it's like gratitude. I always see it like teaspoon by teaspoon, right? I go, okay, I can have like a little bit of gratitude to that. Great. Cool. So we've got another one in too. You're ready?
Ready.
Yeah. Okay. So, Josh, I'm still going for my financial goal for 2015, and I'm very close, but still really going for it. I noticed one of the things that really supported me in bringing it this year is when I'm just committed to the process and sort of detached from the outcome. I'm navigating doing that while wanting to actually have a specific outcome. Any advice, words of wisdom?
Well, first off, woohoo for playing through the end of the year for your financial goal. It's fabulous. And, I love what you're naming in terms of we do have goals that are meaningful to us that we want to score. And at the same time, there is the beautiful paradox of, what you're sharing about. When I'm really bringing my best, I'm playing full out for the outcome, but I'm detached. I'm not grasping, at the outcome. And for me anyway, when I think about this, what I'm looking towards is, yes, the outcome is important, but what's important to me about the outcome? Right? I set a goal for enrolling X number of clients. That's an important goal to me, right? I want to make a difference. I want to contribute. I want to get paid. And what's important to me about doing that? I know that when you are playing full out, like, let me put it this way. When you reach the end of this year and you have, whatever has occurred, right? You've either scored the goal or you haven't scored the goal. You got close, you didn't get close. What do you want to look back upon this year? Do you want to look back and see, you know what? I gave everything that was mine to give to score that goal. I played all out. I didn't leave anything on the field. So that no matter what happens, you have the satisfaction of knowing that you did what was yours to do here. That, regardless of the outcome, that's what you can bring to it. And don't be shy about going for it too, right? Keep your eye on the spark of possibility that you see of scoring this goal. Not because you have to, not because something bad will happen if you don't score this goal, but for the joy of the game, for the joy of doing it. So hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, if that lands for you and what you're seeing about it.
Mm.
Dana, anything you want to add here?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's, I think I think you said it beautifully. I mean, there really is um, again, it sort of makes me think of this little teaspoon by teaspoon of gratitude. It's
Mm.
sort of like being able to be in that dance of, this is my own weird way of thinking about it, but, to be in that dance of like holding, uh, it's like holding your eye on the prize, and like always that feeling of like, okay, like, where am I dancing on this, right? Like, and I think, for me, what's been, so it always, it can feel like a little bit like, like a dance, as opposed to like I'm squarely on something. And for me, what I think has been always really helpful, though feels like a stretch at times, is to really keep reminding myself to like hold the goal as done, right? So
Mm.
like to
Mhm.
see that, to see that number, and sometimes it's not even like the number, right? I know we've talked about this before. It's like the feeling, like that's what we want, the feeling of of accomplishment, right? Of like, I set my, like, I set my mind on a goal. Like I have a mountain up there that I showed you before we started the
Yeah.
webcast, right? I showed Josh the mountain that's out my window, and I'm going to climb that mountain, right? When I hit this one goal that I have my eye on the prize, and I know the goal is already done. I already know what it's like to walk up to the top of that mountain and feel, right, my heart pumping, and the whole experience. And I just keep trying to live that experience, and putting myself in that place of that feeling of accomplishment, and for myself, and the feeling of like gratitude to be able to serve people.
Mm.
So that when I'm feeling like in that dance of like, oh, am I detached? Am I too focused? Am I being myopic? Am I being too like, go with the flow? I try to just hold that space.
That's
Of
brilliant.
so, yeah. So we've got another question coming in here. Can we
Great.
take it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see. How about this one? When seeing where I fell short this year, how do I do this without beating myself up?
Mm. Great question. Because don't we always go there, right? It's like, oh, I didn't score this goal, and what the heck is wrong with me that I didn't score this goal? Let me look for all of the reasons why, there's something, da da da, et cetera, however we do it. And you've named the skill set, right? Which is being able to tell the truth about what did or didn't happen without the drama, without the stories, without the interpretation that we give it about ourselves, right? Because that's how we so often do it. And so the way to do it is to look, see, tell the truth, right? We just look at it. Did we do it or did we not do it? What's the truth about it, right? And what the one of the things that's very useful when we talk about this with our academy members is setting clear, measurable goals, right? So that at the end of the year, I either have 5 clients enrolled or I don't. There's no wishy-washy, there's no question about it. So you can look and see, okay, yes, I enrolled my 5 clients, or you know what, I only enrolled 2 clients this year. That's the truth. And then anything else we say about that, and it's because I'm a terrible coach and I don't know how to do enrollment and nobody likes me, that's our interpretation about what happened. You see that? So the first thing is to just look and see what's the truth about it. And then we get to look towards, and what do we learn from that, right? Well, I learned that I didn't, looking back on it, I didn't actually call anybody to invite them to be my clients. Well, that didn't work well, right? Or, I had a bunch of conversations with people, but none of them signed up. Now, again, we can make an interpretation about that, but you might just see there's some skill development for me to do there, right? I need to go out and get some support about learning how to do sales effectively. Doesn't mean anything about you other than that there's a skill for you to develop. So step 1, just tell the truth, simply what did or didn't happen. Step 2, look for what's the lesson out of it. And you might look towards what's the skill for me to develop, right? Because so often we get caught up in what's wrong with me or what whatever. But kind of the empowering way to look at it is what's there for me to learn so that I can do it differently next time. So hope that's helpful.
Yeah, and we have a great follow-up question. I mean, it just happened. It's not from the same person, but that I feel like is a great follow-up to this one, which is when you are doing enrollment, how do you stay joyful during recruitment and sending email after email, right? All the follow-up. How do you stay in the joy?
I love that question. I love that question because I remember the days when I hated sales. I hated enrollment. I hated reaching out to people. I felt icky. I felt like, oh my God, shoot me now. I can't believe I'm picking up the phone to call this person. So I've been there, and I've been there. And for me, and I'd love to hear what you do, Dana, also, because I know that you do this as well. For me, one is just remembering this person has something incredible that they want to contribute to the world. And just seeing what a hero they are for being where they are, even being in the conversation with me is a courageous thing, right? And that if they, the fact that they're here says that they're up to something big in their life, and there's something more that they're wanting to experience in their life. Now, whether that has anything to do with me or not, I don't know yet. In a sales conversation, that's part of what we're there to discover. Is there some way that I can support you to realize that? But that's a big part of it for me. The other is holding in my mind the certainty, the knowledge about what's possible for this person out of working with me, so that I can see the vision, right? If somebody's coming to me and engaging in one of our, one of my in-person trainings, holding in my mind the transformation that I know is possible out of that, and so that I can share it with them very clearly, and also just share from the joy of knowing that this is what's available to you, and whether or not it's for you, I don't know yet. I want to support you to look and see if it's a thing for you. But I can share with the joy of knowing that that's what's possible. That's why I do this, is the transformation that people get, right? The courage, the vulnerability, the creativity that people have to call forth, to bring forth their dreams, their businesses, their projects, their ventures, their creative ideas to contribute to the world. So I'm always holding what's the end result? Why am I doing this, right? In my mind as I'm engaging with people. And one more thing I'll share about this is, when I'm reaching out to people, right? When I'm making phone calls or sending emails, I'm also holding in my mind the knowledge that this might be exactly what this person needs right now. And they would have no way of knowing it if I didn't share it with them, right? It's on me. They're not going to, some of them may go out and look for it, but many people, we don't know what we need until we see it. It's like, oh, I really need some support around this thing. I had no idea. Thank you for offering, right? One of the metaphors that I love as I'm thinking about enrollment is the metaphor of an hors d'oeuvre tray. Imagining that I am at a party, I've got this tray. For me, it would be chocolate chip cookies because I love baking chocolate chip cookies. And I'm sharing, I'm walking around and saying, hey, would you like a chocolate chip cookie? Just from the joy of offering it and knowing that this person might be hungry right now, and a chocolate chip cookie is exactly what they want. And so whether they say yes or no has nothing to do with me. It's just, oh, they're not hungry right now. Or yes, they're hungry and they want this chocolate chip cookie, or they hate chocolate, and so cookie isn't the right thing for them, right? But I can do it without attachment because I'm offering what is mine to offer and inviting them to participate. How about for you, Dana?
Yeah, that's great. No, I'm thinking, besides just being like, chocolate chip cookies, but I really like the visual, right? And, a lot of what you said was great. In terms of like, oh, maybe this is like holding, like, this is exactly what this person needs right now. Or, conversely being like, this person could also not like chocolate and it just might not be up their alley. I had a consult call this morning talking with someone, and like at the end of it, she's like, I don't really think this is for me. And for her, it was a cost thing. And it was like, oh, okay, right. But it was great to be that transparent one. But what I did throughout the whole time, and what I find myself always doing, in my calls and one thing that I noticed that Rha Goddess does a lot when she's emailing is smiling. Right? So I know that's like a little bit of a silly thing, but like, you know, smiling like as I'm doing my consult calls, right? Or as I'm doing my outreach, right? It's like there's something about just like keeping it light for myself. And if I find myself like getting too like about it, you know, it's like I gotta get up and go do something else, right? Like I gotta just get out of the like the mind frame like that this is difficult. This, you know, if I find myself there, I try to just like clean that up and like, okay, I got it. It's not actually a great time for me to do recruitment, even though it's like on my list and it's like the biggest, most important thing on my list. Like I just got to know like maybe it's not the right thing right now. So for me, it's like timing. It's about like smiling and just like I use a lot of visualization. And I find that really works for me, and just being attentive to like my own body needs, right? If I'm like, okay, I've really got to do this for like recruitment, I've really got to do this, and I find myself like I haven't eaten or I have to pee or I'm like crunched over my thing and I haven't done anything for myself and I'm still in my like PJs, or I'm just, you know what I mean? Like I'm just not being attentive to myself. I find it to be way less effective, right? So sometimes the most effective thing for me is to like get up and like go do something else that I really need to do, that I'd really like to do. And you know, if I can't do that for whatever reason, like even just like a few breaths, and I think maybe your chocolate chip cookie visual might make its way in there, and just like smiling and just like being with the joy of what it is to be in service and to like be in some certainty that it's just, you know, like what is for me, right? And what isn't. And the people that are supposed to be there will be there, right? If I show up like joyfully, if I show up all like, right, like sort of like smashes my, you know, limits.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You know, the thing that's wonderful about everybody in this conversation is that you're all here because you want to make a contribution. You know, you're doing this because you love it, not because, not for any other reason. And so when we can be present to the joy of it, the joy of why we're doing this, it's a very different experience. We'll just say that.
Well, we've got two more questions here. Let's see if we can squeeze them in.
Okay.
One has come through. It says, what is the best way to come to terms with the loose ends of relationships, both personal and professional? So I think maybe I tongue-tied there a little bit. So what is the best way to come to terms with the loose ends of relationships, both personal and professional?
And
what I would say, not to interrupt you, but like some, you know, like if, you know, for anyone submitting questions out there, you know, like we might also reserve the, you know, the possibility of saying like, oh, we'd love to have a consult with you too, to like really dig in on something. I'm not saying that's necessarily with this question, but like, right, like we will answer questions here in this space, and we love taking your questions. And there's also the opportunity, if you want to dig in, you know, especially around like your business or something, you know, like bigger around like what you're building, there's also the opportunity to do a consult with us and with one of the coaches, including Josh. So I'm just sort of plugging that again here.
Yeah. So this is a great question. I'd love to hear more, you know, if I were with you right now, I'd love to hear more details about what you're experiencing, and so I can give a little bit more precise, you know, thoughts or feedback. But basically, I'd want to know, like, what are the loose ends? What are you seeing? Is it, you know, is it something that you need to clean up that you did or said? Is it something that you need to communicate to this person, right? Is it just, I didn't do what I said I would do with this person and I need to follow up and, you know, clean that up? You want to get clear for yourself. What is it that you need to clean up? What is the loose end, right, with each person? And then the truth is, make a plan and do it. Let it be simple, right? Even if it's just, you know, I'm going to call this person today. And by the way, do it in small, sweet steps, please. Do it one little teaspoon at a time, as Dana was saying earlier. Sometimes we think, oh, I need to just like clear up everything with everybody today. And it's like, no, you don't need to. You know, one step at a time. And you might start with the people for whom it's easiest first, right? It's like, oh, I need to tell my mom, you know, XYZ about the thing. and then I need to, or maybe your mom isn't the easiest person to start with. I don't know, but start with the people for whom it's easy. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now, for the sake of our time. We can get to the last question. Hope that's helpful. I'd love to hear if it is.
And just one thing I'll jump in here with is just
Yes, please, Dana.
there's a great resource that Rha turned me on to, and for those of you who don't know, like Rha Goddess is the founder and CEO of The Crowd, and she is often the host of these webinars when we're not graced with Josh's presence. But she introduced me to a book a long time ago called Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. And you could even Google Fierce Conversations, Susan Scott, and it will pull up some the 7 principles of a fierce conversation. I know I've Googled it. I have the book. I lend it out often. Miraculously, it comes back. But it's a pretty amazing resource in terms of having some of those, sort of the structure for having those difficult conversations. It can give you some support and okay, what does it mean? Do I just blurt it out? What do I need to do in preparation, right? So what Josh was saying, setting the time, so important, because we can be someday, right? But what Josh said, super key. And then a resource out for folks, Susan Scott's Fierce Conversations.
That's a fabulous resource. Thanks for sharing that, Dana.
Yeah. Do we have time for one more? Are we gonna do, what do you want to do?
Let's do one more. We'll do it quick and then we'll wrap.
We'll do it super quick. At the end of the year, I'm too tired to get those last things tied up. How can I stay motivated to get those really done?
Great question. And, I think this really gets back to what we were talking about earlier, is why are you doing it, right? Be present to what's important to you about this. Even in the midst of the most mundane, tedious task, we can do it either with, this is exhausting and I'm tired and I just don't even want to bother and whatever, or we can do it with, what, this is contributing to this thing that I love. I'm doing this because of the people that I'm serving. Even as I write this email, or as I do this thing, or as I do the financials for my company, right? That is in service to what you're here to contribute. So that's, for me, that's always what's living at the center for me. I'm looking towards why am I doing this? What is this serving? What's important to me about this? And then the second thing I'd offer is gratitude. It just has a way of shifting our energy when we engage with gratitude. That even when we're tired, right? Even when we're I don't even, if we just pause for a moment, think of something that we're grateful for. One thing. Spend 20 seconds with that feeling. And just notice how your energy shifts. And you might see you have a little bit more energy than you thought you did. You take the next small, sweet step. Take the next, little cleanup task or thing to complete before the end of the year. So we'll leave it there. We're at, yeah.
Yes. And so just one quick thing, on the video, underneath is a link to your taking stock worksheet, right? So this has all of the points that Josh walked through, the 4 aspects. So you can remind yourself, and of course you'll get an email tomorrow with a link. You have the link to this page, right? This will be up and available to you, so you can walk it through again and sort of drill in with the worksheet. So this is our resource, our gift to you. Thank you for being part of our community. And why don't we all just have a smile here for a moment, a smile for Josh, gratitude. Thank you for walking us through the taking stock, and everyone just, stay tuned with us throughout the month. Our emails will be breaking down each piece. You can also join Rha Goddess on Periscope. You can, she's going through all of the 4 aspects of taking stock, each week of the month. So every morning, I think 8 a.m. Eastern, which is too early for me. Find her on Periscope. You can find the link in our Twitter feed, which is @TruePaidGood. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Josh. And thank
Dana,
you,
can I share one quote to close us out here?
Yes, it's all you.
So, and thank you all for your wonderful questions too. I love the engagement. It's just, it's a lot of fun for us. So this is a quote from Dag Hammarskjöld, the second, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. He's the second Secretary General of the UN. And he said this: "For all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes."
Mm.
For all that has been, thanks. And for all that will be, yes. So have a fun, safe, prosperous holiday season, and we will see you in 2016.
Yes, thank you. Good night.